You're now tuned into the hottest podcast in the world, the Stay Woke Podcast, right here on the SonicBreakdown.com.
Welcome back to another Stay Woke Podcast. This is D. Ray Brinson, and you know the Stay Woke Podcast is presented by the SonicBreakdown.com. I want to thank everybody for coming back and listening to another episode. We got two special guests today. We got Miss Jane returning. I'm still going to get that Luke Cage podcast out, guys. I know. It's a lot of editing, bro. And I got the comic expert ready.
Thank you for having me again, like always.
And so today's episode, we're going to be talking about, of course, if Reddy's here, some comic books. We're going to break down the comic book movies of 2016 and just, give our opinions, possibly rank them and more. So, let's begin, and actually, I want to start the first part out. Let's start backwards and start with Doctor Strange, since that's the most recent one that's still fresh in the brain. So, what y'all think about Doctor Strange?
I love Doctor Strange.
Do you love him, or did you love the movie?
A little bit of both. The actor himself was good. If you want to talk about something I did not love, was, and I have to say this with the preface it correctly, is I did not love the whitewashing of one of the main characters within it, because the original old one, chosen one, whatever you want to call it, ancient one has always been of Tibetan. I can't say that word right now, but y'all know what I mean.
I know what you're talking about.
We'll say it like that. And then now they whitewash them, and their excuse was basically we were going in a different direction. Same name, same concept, same storyline, same background. So it wasn't.
Same geography.
Same geography. Everything was the same, but you just want to change the character. That was, I can honestly say, the only, and that's my trueness, the only negative I have about the movie. But the movie itself, the storyline was very well put together. It had great action. The magic was dynamic. It was creative in the concept of it. It was a great tie to the Avengers. It was a great tie to the other movies. It was one of my favorite movies of this year. What about you?
I love Doctor Strange. I'm a huge Benedict Cumberbatch fan. So I have my eye on the project from that angle. And I'm really similar to you, Reddy. Like I really fired on all cylinders. It was nice dialogue. The tone was really good. Like It was serious, and it had some of that dark humor.
Nice, right?
But I had the same political problem with it, in that I really resented and was disappointed by the whitewashing. There's just no need for it. Like reading back some backstory on it and background on it, it seemed like they really thought that it would be hard to sell or hard to cast to actually find someone of Asian descent to play the Ancient One. They were considering a gender bend on it, which I like, but they didn't want to do an Asian gender bend on it. And I think that would have actually solved their problem.
No, one of the main people that I would have loved personally for that role, but of course, I don't believe he's live no more. I don't know, back in the day, did you ever, Mr. Miyagi?
Oh, I don't remember who that is.
Did you ever watch a Karate Kid?
Oh, yeah.
So he would have been who he was what I would have considered like the epitome of the concept of the Ancient One. The Ancient One looked frail. The Ancient One he looked like you could punch him in the face and he would die. But the Ancient One was powerful. He was this old guy that you could tell by his allure he gave wisdom. Like that in all the comic book movies, before, of course, this one, they always showed him as an old guy with a long beard that always randomly floated, always levitated. And they did that with, I don't know the actress's name, because they did change
Tilda Swinton.
I will give this to her. I loved her as the Ancient One. So I want to make sure I'm not.
Yeah, she did. I think she played that role well.
She played it awesome. She did a great concept. She even used the ancient concepts where she used the correct hand pulse when she sent the spirit out of him. When he first was trying to explain to him the concept of magic. She broke the universe when she went through one dimension to the next one, where everything shattered, which was beautiful. She did a great concept of who she was, but it was still the concept of the thing that made me sad. The only negative I have about the movie is they didn't have to change that one character. And they can't say they were reimagining it, because they only changed one character in the whole entire movie.
Now this is
race.
I'll play devil's advocate.
Sure.
Because when I watched the movie, I didn't even know Because I mean, I know Doctor Strange, but I don't like. I know his powers. I know the backstory, but I didn't know the accessory characters around that backstory.
Yeah, he has a full team.
So her, I mean, I knew of the character in essence, but I didn't know. I never seen any images of it, so I had no preconceived notions about it. I just knew that it was a master role that taught him what he needed to know.
Yeah,
and that's all I took it
master
as.
teacher role.
Yeah,
Right,
just
I got you.
that's it. Gender, race, class, anything out of it. That was fine. So when I saw the movie, that didn't come to my mind.
And that's
so
most non-people that really been.
and
into
so
comic books.
I agree that if you can't stick to the original, but let's say the reason why they didn't is because they couldn't find anybody that mastered the role as well as she did during casting. And I'm not saying, but
I'll go with that for now because I get what you're
because
saying. And like I said before, she
now do I believe that they
massively-
could have if they searched harder? Possibly, yes.
She massively pulled off
But
the role.
that's what I'm saying because she did such a well job. Now, if she didn't do a good job,
I give you.
then I could have been like, so you're telling me you couldn't find somebody to do a better job because she didn't do one well.
all the way up to
Because-
the point where she turned over being Sorcerer Supreme, which the concept is beautiful. The always turning over Sorcerer Supreme, you get the amulet of Agamotto, and now I do like, and I wanted to bring this up. This is the part I love the most of the connection to the other Marvel movies as well as to Infinity Wars, which should be coming out pretty soon. Is that the amulet itself, instead of going back to what the comic book was, it was its own magical item. It has one of the gems. You know what I'm saying? One of the gems that Thanatos will be coming for pretty soon. And the time gem, and they showcased that in. I really want to talk about the CGI of this because this movie, its CGI was magnificent.
Good word
it
for it.
was magnificent.
I'll say that it was very well done, but I don't. And it's gonna sound like I'm hating, but wait before we go to the CGI real quick, I just want to touch on about that character and about the
ancient
switching.
one?
And the ancient one is. At what point do you sacrifice sticking to the original content versus the performance? Because that's the quandary that you get in the scenario that I presented. Now again, like I said, there are times when you say, yeah, the person you picked was horrible an actor. You only got it because of the name. The performance was horrible. You should have found somebody with the gender, and if they did a horrible performance, at least it's closer to the character than just picking the name. So what is the point you draw that line?
I'm gonna let her go.
Because because my thing is if we're gonna put them on the hook for that, we gotta at least
So where I land with a question like that is I don't put this on Tilda Swinton, the actress. This was not her.
No attack on you.
It's her job. It was a job offered to her. My thing is with the producers. Like if you want to reimagine a character, you can certainly do so. That's part of your access to the art. But if you're gonna leave the story in Tibet, if you're gonna keep all the trappings of the story that suggest that this should be and naturally would be a character of color, no matter what, you have to match the situation. If they wanted it to be an older white lady, that's cool, but that means that their seat of power should maybe have been in Scotland, like where Tilda is from, which also has do a druid thing. There are other ways to have a connection
or
to
show that the culture spread
that
to
match
another,
with who they chose to cast.
And they made it perfectly where they could have made that connection where I love where they show the door concept where any door could be any location at any time.
And hers is in Everest.
And that
why is
would've
it
been
in
right there.
Everest?
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's why I wanted to ask the question, because
Yeah.
now they have no excuse.
Exactly. So they said
You know what I'm
they and which is why we can call this a whitewashing problem. Like the way they wrote it, what we're expecting, like they didn't change this from the comics. The comics have it as a Tibetan character, it's an Asian descent character, and they brought that in from the comic, which is great, but that means when they cast a white person, they're taking an opportunity away from an actor of color. And Tilda's a huge name, so that's part of it. Like the part of it is the economies and economics of how films are cast and who's a draw and what they're worth and the entire thing. Like in the U.S. is probably an unknown Asian descent actor quote unquote worth as much as a famous white one like Tilda Swinton.
But can I say something real quick?
Sure.
One quick. So the reason why I have to be like they could have still found somebody with no name is when y'all would know this better than me. The character that's Harry Potter. What is his name?
The actor?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yes, Daniel Radcliffe.
Before Harry Potter, he was nobody.
Correct.
He was a regular person on the street.
But-
Let me finish. Hold on. So if they really said that they didn't have a Asian actor, they could have used, because they already had the big name of Doctor Strange and multiple other people. They
But-
could have used a no-name actor.
No.
The ancient one.
Now, I'm going to have to give him an out on this one because with the Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter was a book at that time. So they didn't have a deadline on when they had anticipated for that movie to be out. They can do the casting until they found somebody. Doctor Strange already had a timeline. We knew the timeline for Doctor Strange before they started filming, bro.
But okay, I agree.
So I'm saying I'm not
So
again.
they
I'm
had to find somebody by a deadline. I hear what you're saying.
I'm not disagreeing that. Yes, I do agree that they could have found somebody if they search hard enough because they have the money to do it. One, but bringing up the analogy between that and Harry Potter, I don't think it's fair because again, Harry Potter had an indefinite timeline.
Okay, but I do want to take
Doctor
you back.
Strange
Yes,
had a finite.
we know Doctor Strange may have had a finite, but they knew they were doing this movie a long time ago. They knew they were doing this movie. Basically, the first movie that they did in Marvel that connected to this universe.
No, and that's
They
where you
did.
no. They had the rights to the movie, but they have rights to millions
But
of
see,
movies that they don't
okay.
greenlight.
So the reason I said that is, hold on, is because Marvel had 7 years ago now had a 10-year plan. They released a 10-year, and in that 10-year plan, Doctor Strange was in that 10-year plan. So I'm saying with that, Doctor Strange just came out. It's 7 years within that.
No, I agree that
they had
the-
7 years to find somebody
No,
potentially.
no,
Oh,
but
well, like
no.
three. Let's say
No.
three.
The 10-year plan. This is how they rolled out that 10-year plan. They said the 10-year plan. We got these first 5 movies in this 10-year plan. Based on the success of these first 5 movies,
Let's see what's gonna
determines
happen next.
what's going to happen for that next 5-year plan. So we're not going to
agreeing.
start looking for because, bro, that's money.
But
They're
okay.
not spending money until they know it's guaranteed.
Okay, I'm still agreeing with you, but I'm saying they still had the excuse to saying that you didn't have enough time.
No, I'm not saying
to
they didn't
find
have
this
no.
actor?
I'm not saying they didn't have enough time. I'm just saying
Okay.
I'm
He's
just
just saying the
counteracting your point. The comparison to Harry Potter is not fair.
Yeah, because Harry Potter could have been in there. I get that part.
That's all I'm saying. Now, yes, I believe they could have had enough time if they had enough money. It's not like this is a low budget
have
film where you gotta
Marvel has money.
where you just gotta find. Hey,
They
you
can
wanna
afford
shoot-
for one to fail at this point.
That's
They
what I'm
can
saying.
straight
They really
experiment
can.
at this
They
point.
really, but I don't think. I think at this point, with the success that they've accumulated, as well as with the integration, because the one thing I would say Marvel that I believe is different from DC is Marvel has integrated in all their movies this year, in prior years, a great integration of all their characters. Where when you randomly see a different character from that universe appear in a movie, you may be surprised in the concept of like, I didn't think they would be in this movie, but you're not surprised at the connection.
Right.
But when it comes to DC, when you see anybody else that's not a main person, or if they lose to the little what they call it, Easter eggs, all that kind of stuff, you're kind of like, oh my god, I'm super surprised because DC doesn't have the best universe when it comes to connecting everything in the movies. I'm not talking about the comic books or the cartoons, but in the movies they don't have the best connection. But Marvel has been since movie 1 almost.
It's all been moving together.
It's all been moving in a certain direction to make everything link, which is why they're when we compare, like, if I can do this real quick, if we compare something like Doctor Strange or we compare Civil War, that concept to
I was gonna say we need to start bringing in other
Justice
movies.
League. The Civil War in the Marvel-based movies had great connection. They brought characters in. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel It didn't feel like it wasn't right. But when you saw DC, like, one of the biggest things I said, even when we did the review for the Batman vs Superman, is the Wonder Woman felt rushed. It felt like it wasn't a good integration into the movie. But when we got Black Panther and Civil War, it was that perfect moment where they added him in at the perfect time to make everything go together.
Let me just put one quick PS on Doctor Strange, and then we can totally move on. Just to make one more point about the politics of the whitewashing, is when I was reading the background, the director, and his name escapes me at the moment, but the director was really nervous about leaving the character of Asian descent because he was not sure how to avoid certain tropes and like sort of stereotypes of Asian characters, like the the old master with the mustache and everything, and they're like, oh, if I gender bent it, would I have either a dragon lady or would I have like a geisha girl
or similar
stereotype?
like what they did, what some people said in the original Doctor Strange comics of how they illustrated him as.
Yes, the illustrations, right, were a little worrisome, I think, for
And
some of the
so
art direction.
I can see that.
Yeah, so like, and I think it's sort of painfully ironic that because they were worried about sort of projecting racist stereotypes into their story, they overcorrected and they stole an opportunity for an actor of color to kill it and gave it to, unfortunately, like a brilliant white actress, but someone like we didn't need a white person to tell that particular story.
And it was talking about Asian people in the movie, and the first part of the meme was like, when it comes to Asian and cool things, we can show that. But when it comes to Asian and awful stereotypes, and they were showing like the buck tooth, super hat
with a hat. Yeah,
you want to hide this, but then in reality, you usually end up doing the reverse because you always make the cool Asian not a real Asian. You make the cool Asian a white person, and then when it comes to the buck tooth or the uneducated or it's really negative stereotypical Asian, you always get that role as an Asian.
Yes.
And it's the same thing when we go to a lot of other cultures. You always get the spicy Mexican or Latino. You always get the gangster Latinos, or you get the gangster thug black guys. But then when it comes to actual those roles, we find a way to either lighten somebody's skin or darken someone's skin to be that role. And that's a major fallacy when it comes to Hollywood.
It is.
Because you do have actors in each of those ethnicities that we've seen. Izan Sari, we got, Denzel Washington. We got these major actors that can play multi-roles.
Yes.
Terrence Howard for other, light-skinned black people.
Yes.
We have these people that can do it. We have Jackie Chan. I can name all kinds
Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen. You got
who was in
in Rogue One.
Yeah, he did it
from all the movies. So you have these actors that can play these diverse roles, but we decide not to use them because we say, hey,
we're worried they're not bankable, which is just a crime against their art. Yes.
They're not oh my God, just lost Titanic, white guy.
Leo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio, they have him playing that movie that's coming out next year. The Asian guy that helped build the wall.
No, you're talking about Matt Damon.
That's Matt Damon.
So
I still got a problem with that too.
But
we digressing.
Yeah,
let's get
back to what it is.
Let's get back.
They could have got some really good. Even if they're saying that it was a problem with stereotypical roles when it comes to Asian,
they could have fixed
them. Stereotypical roles that's the time that shows Asian culture. Even though it was in an Asian place with Asian belief and Asian concept, the concept of how they even use magic.
Let's move on from that because we've been
on it
minutes, and that's one movie out of 2016,
and it's gorgeous. And go watch it.
It's a great movie. We can expand on that, but let's. It's
like Inception, only good.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to touch on the graphics because like you're saying that they were so superb, but they were good and they were great, but I felt like I was watching Inception. So like I mean that's what I'm saying, like the step up, like again it fit the movie. The movie was great. It just like if I never saw Inception and then I saw that, I'd have been like, wow, this is amazing. But anyways,
I think that's fair, dude, right? I think that's fair critique.
Let's go to Suicide Squad.
Okay, that one I gotta keep my mouth shut on that one because I missed it.
We won't spend that much time on it because I don't think it's worth spending that much time on it. I think Harley Quinn. Oh my gosh,
awesome.
I'm trying to think of the actor's name.
The actress name did a
Margaret Robbie. I think that's hey, Google it, somebody. But
you know who she is.
You know who she is. I think she did a really good job on that movie. I enjoyed Jared Leto. I enjoyed Jared Leto as the Joker. I thought he did a good job. I wish that they highlighted him more. Will Smith is a hit and miss for me. I don't think he did a bad job in the movie, but I do think they could have found somebody that would have did it better.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because one of the things I wanted to say is Will Smith is a great actor. I've said he's phenomenal in a lot of cases, but to be Deadshot, to be a uncaring assassin that would kill your mother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie at a drop of a hat. When you see Will Smith, all I could think of is family, man. All I could think of is his kids and his wife. He's not the guy that I would ever have picked to be the uncaring no thought assassin you would ever want in a movie, and her name was Margot Robbie.
Oh, see, I was right.
Yeah.
I just
Harley
probably
Quinn.
didn't pronounce it right, but
And but with her, I loved her, and I would say, like you said, Jared Leto. They both played their roles perfectly. Jared Leto, even though it wasn't completely confirmed, but it kind of was through different movies. If we go back to the connections of the universe, which again I do love, in this one capacity, DC did an okay job. It's a connection of, technically, we all know, even though it wasn't completely confirmed, that was a Red Hood. And it was the Red Hood
okay.
Joker. They talked about that in the Superman versus Batman.
The Killing
Joke.
Joke.
He stole it. And
Well,
I
not the
loved Jared Leto playing the Red Hood because he fit the Red Hood's role as Joker.
well,
You don't think so?
no, I agree, but just for audience sake, they're gonna might listen to this and be like, Red Hood. I saw
Okay,
Suicide Squad
so-
and he wasn't the Red Hood.
I'll make it real quick. So the Red Hood, or this version of the Joker, was actually the original Robin. The original Robin was killed by that Joker, which at this time would have been Heath Ledger, and Heath Ledger would have killed this particular Robin. And then after he killed him, he was put into Lazarus Pit. So if we go back into Ra's al Ghul, remember those stories?
And
Ra's
Damien.
al Ghul had Damien, and he had a Lazarus Pit that could bring anybody back to life. This version of Robin was put in that, and because of what it is, it drove him crazy. When he went crazy, he basically became Joker. The Joker, that particular Joker, is the one that created Harley Quinn. And we saw that in the movie, which I loved that with. He was so smart. He convinced her. He didn't force her. He didn't make her. He convinced her to jump in the vat of acid to become Harley Quinn.
I thought like all that was really done. I think that was very well done. The issues I had was the villain.
Yep.
I thought that wasn't well done.
It was kind of crappy.
Yeah, that part. To have such a strong team for this, that part wasn't
The
done.
storyline was really horrible to me. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Again, Harley Quinn's scene stuck out. The scene in the elevator, and then I just want to add this as well is she actually did that herself, and she didn't have a stunt double.
Yeah.
She
That
didn't have
fight
a
scene
stunt
you
double,
talking
and
about?
she did that in heels. That is pretty impressive. That's fuck that. That's badass. So I enjoyed that, but overall, that's low.
The movie to me was meh.
on my list.
Like I said, once again, at this age of time we are, the graphics should always be good. If the graphics ain't good in the movie, that means it had to be low budget. So yeah, the graphics were again awesome, but the tying of the characters, the storyline, the concepts, or even what the original Suicide Squad was, it didn't really fit into the DC universe.
That's why Marvel wins again.
It lacked. It really lacked. When if you want to compare, like D-Ray said, Civil War, which is the same concept of bringing the whole concept of Avengers together, compared to the new Justice League and their concept bringing together, it's crappy. Suicide Squad.
We gotta take pity on Reddy and talk about, I think, Civil War. You keep on talking.
Yeah, let's just go to, because I was about to say that. I was just going to say we need to go to Civil War.
Before we go to Civil War, which I will say I believe was one of the best movies and the best comic book movies of this year, but Suicide Squad
Last year, 2016. We in 2017
I
now.
apologize about that. It is 2017. Happy New Year, everybody. I had talked to my brother about Suicide Squad literally like maybe a year and a half ago from today. Suicide Squad had trailers, had the amp, had the hype, had everything that you would believe like this is going to be the best DC movie of the year.
Sickening, right? It was supposed to be sickening.
It's
Come on.
supposed to be like, yes. But then when you watched it, I didn't, even non-DC fans or people that weren't really into comic books were like, this is not the best movie. And like that's when I really realized that the movie was crappy, because as a fan of comic books, yes, I'm usually biased because I have a certain point of view, certain background that no one else may have. But people that didn't even know about that kind of stuff and watched it told me it was crappy. It showed it didn't appeal to nobody, the fans or the new and upcoming potential fans.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I moved on from Suicide Squad, so I'm already detached from it from this. I'm good. But let's move into. Let's just go to Civil War, man. Let's just actually no, because that's gonna be a longer one. Let's go into Deadpool and Batman versus Superman. I'll start with Deadpool I thought Deadpool was a very, very good movie. I thought it was very well done.
One of my favorite movies
And I wouldn't put it on my top of the list. We're going to get into rankings a little bit later, but just at this point, I would say the reason why it lacked for me is just it stuck to the comic book very closely. It was R-rated. It was overly done. It was everything over the top, but that's what you expect from Deadpool. And so that's what I'm not disappointed with. The thing that I was disappointed with is the villain. That's that's the running theme for me is the villain is like Deadpool.
You need a good one.
Yeah, like
in a story.
Can I ask what disappointed you about the villain? Because I mean, he probably wasn't the best and the most powerful villain, but he did tie together who Deadpool was.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
See, to me, he should have been an accessory villain. Like, to me, he's like a tier 2 villain. He's like a tier 2 villain, and he was presented as a super villain. Like, the main...
Okay, I hear
like
what you're saying.
Like, the equivalent of him, his role to me, would be Magneto's the villain. He's Magneto's henchman.
Mm.
And so... But they portrayed him as Magneto. Like, he wasn't that dude. So, no, not a Mystique. Like, Mystique's still up on that level. Like,
Yeah,
I'm talking about like a frog or Toad, rather. Like, that's because...
Yeah, like, he was an antagonist, but was he a villain?
Exactly.
Like yeah.
He
Did he bring all the drama and all the things that you want from a villain?
He wasn't even running the facility.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So, like...
Yeah,
you did all of that work.
He was a henchman.
You did all of that work for a henchman, like a whole movie to kill a henchman. So that's to me, like I needed a real villain, and they could have kept him alive too if you wanted to, so you can have him in recurring.
But can I ask you a question? You said since you gave him a henchman role, not a villain, not a super villain, a henchman role, isn't a henchman's role to die? So wouldn't that kind of?
No, I'm not saying him to die. Oh. The villain that they replaced for him, like because. Okay. That's the other thing that I mentioned before in like Guardians of the Galaxy and certain of the comic book movies, especially with Marvel, is the fact that they keep on killing the villains.
And that pisses me off.
Because when I watched the cartoons, when I read the comics, you had a villain that you grew with, that you
many battles.
That you had many battles with, that you grew to hate. You know what I'm saying? You grew to hate, like, oh my gosh, he needs to get captured. He needs to get killed, whatever it is. But you grew to find these emotions with him, just like you grew to find the emotions with the heroes.
That's
and
interesting.
So that part is an issue. Like, but I do understand they want to feel it to be complete at some degree.
But can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
So D-Ray, we've had a conversation about this kind of concept before about killing villains too soon, and you told me something a long time ago that I kind of took the heart that I've been using that for the new movies of realistic concepts. And you said something a long time ago along the lines of, it's only realistic that villain would have to die in this movie. And when we look at some of the new movies, they're trying to go around the concept of what, not the comic book concept, because, comic book concept, they kill 70 million people and then still go to jail. But they're trying to go with the concept of today, which was if you they kill you.
I get what you're coming from.
Okay.
I like the concept. I like what they're doing, like in Civil War. I like that to some degree in Batman versus Superman. I like how they're having real world effects, but you can still have a villain like Thanos. He's strong enough that you can go into a battle, you can lose / win. Like, take Guardians of the Galaxy. I know this is not a 2016 movie, just for example purposes. I can't think of the guy's name. The one that had the hammer. I can't think of his name right now. Whoever out there, I know you're yelling at your phones, your devices saying, but that guy, they had the ability to stop him and not kill him at that last scene. You know what I'm saying?
Or disable or force him to retreat. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm saying there's opportunities like that in the movies where it's still complete and it still makes sense and it still fits into a real world situation. But where you can still not have that guy die. And I'm not saying do that for every villain, but there should be one or two main villains that at least carry on to the next movie. and they
Yeah,
can get
and
killed
they're
in the
just as
following
important
movie.
as the
You know what I'm
hero.
saying? They can
Yeah.
get killed in the next movie and have that carry on and
But
another
wait.
villain revenge, whatever.
If
Something.
you want to use Guardians of the Galaxy, the main true villain behind everything
It's
Guardians
Thanos.
is Thanos.
I know. So
you-
that's I'm not saying that
Okay.
in that case that was an issue, but I'm saying that was an opportunity where they could have kept somebody alive that they did kill. I'm just saying
I
there's
get
been
that part.
there's been
So-
opportunities in other movies where they've done that.
To contrast with your opinion though, D-Ray, which I totally do, like I totally do get. That story still worked for me because of the way they
Drax the
set it up.
Destroyer. His name, I'm sorry, that
Yes.
was
No,
know
it's okay.
a
The
high
guy.
drunk moment, whatever. Drax the Destroyer is the name of the villain.
Thank you. We were missing it. Yeah, no, but for Deadpool and the way that story worked, because I don't know the story of Deadpool, so I was going in naive, not knowing how it all worked out. And we meet him. He's hilarious. We're into
Hella
his
funny.
story. The tone is hella funny, although very dark, super dark.
I
Don't
love
bring your
it.
kids. But then the story kind of takes a turn. Like the tone of it goes way, way dark
Yeah.
when we find out everything that was going on with him. But the story is so dark, like it's so depraved, that it's so cruel what happens to him, that even though the guy that is the antagonist is like, he's not a supervillain, he's a dude with a horrible attitude for whatever reason and a vendetta against Deadpool. Because of what happened in their conflict, like I believed in Deadpool's desire for revenge, like 100%.
No, and that's I don't have an issue with that, but to me, put it this way: let's say if I was writing this movie and they showed me the movie and they said, "How would you fix this?"
Mhm.
I'd have said, "Have everything go the way it did." Cut some things out to make it shorter for him to for him to kill him faster,
Mhm.
so that they can introduce a main boss that they can have carried into the second movie.
I see. So
You
you
know
would
what
have,
I'm saying?
yeah, maybe it would have been like a
Like
first
if
act
all
or
of a sudden
second act
Apocalypse
death.
Exactly.
came
Okay.
out or some
Yeah,
major
like
role.
something towards
Pace it out different.
pace it out just a tad bit different to kill him a little bit quicker to get to that final scene, him with the girl, and then something happens to introduce the main villain that was pulling the strings from the beginning.
To make it, and then that also kind of ties it in better as a Marvel property than it was tied in. But I
Yeah.
actually kind of liked that standalone quality for it. But one other quick comment about Deadpool. Actually, no, I forgot. Never mind.
So one of the things I had to say was kind of, I do like that. I guess they got some permission from Fox, because of course they would have had to get permission from Fox to get anything mutant related into a movie, since Marvel doesn't own that no more. But I do love that they had Colossus, because Colossus is one of my favorite X-Men.
Yes.
The thing I will say is, why would you use? I'm probably gonna get his name so wrong. Super Awesome Team Negative, whatever the other chick's name was, that super long name, because they could have used even lesser known X-Men cheaper, that would have been still known by most of the masses. Like that particular character is only known by people that actually have seen a lot of the comic books, because that character is actually in the comic books, which most people don't realize. That wasn't just made up for the movie. It's an actual character in their universe.
That's a nice detail. And yeah, you don't need it to enjoy, but it's nice that it's there for fans.
Right.
Marvel's
For
always
actual
talking to their fans. They're
But if
always
you
operating on
actually
two
have,
levels.
Like even like an Emma Frost or some random no-name person that most non-fans don't know or kind of heard of, I think it would have been a more significant role, because you use this random mutant. And I love how Deadpool did say it. We couldn't afford more than one major character. Which is why Colossus never went out of metal mode, because they couldn't afford a real actor that could do that. But
I appreciated that joke too.
I did too. I love the fifth wall break. That kept consistent
With
with who
Deadpool.
he was. But they had a lot of one of my
Ryan
favorite-
Reynolds, outstanding, dude.
He made up for Green Lantern
and
and
the other Deadpool,
Yeah, they did.
the X-Men, the freaking first Last Stand.
Yeah, that whatever.
Not Last
Yeah.
Stand,
No, I
whatever
know.
that crappy X-Men movie was, 'cause it wasn't even good. That's how bad it was.
That's
I can't
sad.
remember what the name of it was.
Even though I'm not gonna lie though, that fight scene though was pretty dope though with him
Yeah,
and
but-
Sabretooth. It didn't make sense, but
You know,
it was pretty dope though.
Yeah.
Oh, I remembered. Sorry, real quick. For Deadpool, I loved this Spider-Man so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't like Spider-Man as like he's tortured teen angst. No, I like him as an ultra nerd.
I don't
ultra
mean to
nerd.
bring this back to this, but again,
The Civil
it's one
War?
of my favorite movies. Did you like the nerdiness in who's Peter Parker was in Civil War.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I have it confused. I'm sorry. I was putting Spider-Man.
That's what I was
in
thinking.
Deadpool,
I was
but he's
like,
actually
yeah, I was
in
like,
Civil War.
I was
My
like-
bad. He's in Civil
No
War.
worries.
It's because we want to talk about it so bad, D-Ray.
So-
Let it
I
out the
know.
cage.
It's the best movie of the
We
year.
saving it for last because I have
I
a
hear you.
feeling we're
I
gonna
hear you.
go through possibly these two movies because there's only 3 movies left on this list of the important
I'm gonna wait.
2016 movies.
wait.
Yes,
And
well, my
Civil
respect
War-
for Ryan Reynolds is on the rise.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
because
He did
and
so
and
good.
I
I
respect
respect
it for that.
Easter eggs, and then when his favorite toy was the crappy Deadpool from the other movie. You
Yeah.
remember he picked it up, like, and throughout the movie they made references to all the crappy Marvel, DC, superhero movies that Ryan Reynolds was.
Oh, and it all, Deadpool also crushes it for most gorgeous credit sequence.
Yeah,
The visuals in the credits were
that's-
amazing and hilarious. They
Yes.
were
So,
gorgeous
have
and
you seen-
hilarious.
I'm pretty sure because both of y'all in my generation, y'all seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
Oh my god,
Yes.
I'm gonna have my
And-
80s child
And
card
I
revoked, but
love
no.
that they did that concept with Deadpool because
Yeah.
that's Deadpool. That's what Deadpool is. And I had to say, since we still talking about Deadpool, I'm so loving. I'm hoping they really do keep this. The
Mhm.
concept of Cable.
Nope,
for the
hold
next
that. Hold that.
That's part of
So-
Deadpool. I'm just saying what it was at the end.
Moving from so far we've talked Doctor Strange, Suicide Squad, Deadpool. We're gonna talk about Batman versus Superman. We don't have to spend too much time on it because we already do have a podcast on it. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. But if you did listen to it,
I didn't.
that was not too positive a review. And I was less hard on it as Ready was. I will edit that out. And I wasn't as hard on that movie as Ready was. But now that I've seen it more, my opinion has changed.
To what?
My
Positive
opinion
or negative?
my opinion has changed. It is more positive for the movie,
Oh my god, guys, Reddy's face right now though.
less positive on Ben Affleck. Because during that podcast,
That's
I said-
complicated math over there.
yeah, it is.
Right?
It's addition by subtraction. Okay.
what was more positive about the movie? Because I don't even care about Ben Affleck because that was crap. But what was
Poor
more
Ben
positive about
Affleck
the movie?
miscast in that shit.
I just felt that the main storyline, not the additional stuff with Wonder Woman, not all that other stuff. The main storyline of the angst between Batman and Superman.
Martha.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the concept, the idea of why Batman had issues with Superman.
But
That
that's not
I
even
think that
nothing
they,
new.
I know it's not new, but I think that they explained it in a relatively decent manner, which I didn't think they did when I first reviewed it.
Okay.
I'm not saying it jumped leaped and bounds better
know.
than what I originally
Okay.
said. I'm just saying that it altered, it changed
I can say I like
after multiple reviews.
I'll give you that part. I like the concept of how they show the dichotomy between Superman and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it would never make up for the dumbest scene in DC history where a motherfucker says a name, and it changes your murderous intent. We've gone through an
Bro.
hour. Wait, hold on. We've gone through an hour and a half of you wanting to kill a motherfucker, and then literally he says a name. I don't care. I'm not gonna tell you my mother's name, but if somebody I was about to murder says my mother's name right before I'm gonna murder him, in most capacities, this is gonna make me want to murder them more. But in this case, it stopped you to the point where now you weren't willing to listen to nothing. You're like, I don't care what you have to say. I'm gonna destroy you. But now because you said a name, I'm gonna stop my murderous intent. I'm gonna change my way, and I'm on your team. Stupid as hell.
I disagree wholeheartedly
Oh, we got some drama.
because you have to set it from this perspective. I'm asking you to think of it from this perspective. He's a man that prides himself on pride. One, that's Batman. He's very prideful, and he hasn't heard that name since his mother died. How old was he at that point? Maybe 10.
As a kid,
He was
yeah.
a kid, but okay.
So
but still a
hold on.
name.
So hold on. Yeah, but Reddy, you know names have effects, especially something that holds his whole life is based on those two names, his mother and his father. Everything he's done since he's been 10 years old
And that's
Yep.
in
is
the movie,
is yes, but I'm saying that's my point is every single day, everything you do is based off the death of two people.
yes.
Nobody said that name to you since that time, and like I said, everything you do is based on those two people. If somebody says that name says that same name that you haven't heard, it's let's say 30 years.
It'd give you pause.
And that's my point.
Give you- at least, okay,
It would give you
I'll
a
give
pause,
you-
but
But you're saying the change of allegiance is messed up.
It doesn't make
that's what I'm
sense.
saying. I agree with you on that, but I
Okay.
do agree that you would pause, especially in that situation. That is the last thing you expect to hear.
Sure, I'll say hesitate. I may hesitate in murdering you if I think you are the ultimate threat to humanity. I may hesitate. I may pause. I may take a second thought. But just because you said that,
But that the idea
asking about explanation.
But the idea of Batman saying that the fact that Superman is just 1% of a threat is worth taking him down is flawed logic in the beginning.
yes,
That it's just flawed logic because
Yeah.
there's a 1% chance that the world's gonna end with multiple things. That means
Especially
what
their
are you gonna
world.
do? You're gonna move the planet because the sun's gonna. There's a chance that the sun's
They-
gonna go out tomorrow.
they
Like,
actually did that in one comic book, by the way. But yeah,
but not Batman.
of course.
But that's my point. Is like
Yeah.
he's supposed to be the most logical person.
and the
and
greatest
with that-
detective in history.
Yeah, with that logic,
Stupid.
that doesn't make sense. So that's where I do have some flaws.
And then we talked about, I believe in the podcast, there was a point, there's 2 points that almost didn't make no sense, and we talked about it. Was one, we really thought it was somebody else, but Flash coming back in time, talking to them, which made almost no sense if you didn't watch Flash Paradox, if you didn't watch the Flash, the TV show, if you didn't know about Flash, nothing about that made sense to you. One. And then the other one, there was another moment where, of course, Superman uses a spear that, of course, kills him. He goes stab.
Spoilers,
stab-
but the movie's been out for long
no,
enough.
we
You should
already
have
talked
heard.
about that in the podcast. But there was
I just
so
throwing
many
it out
other
there.
people that could have did that same exact mission.
Spoilers for
besides
everything,
Superman.
y'all.
The reason why I don't like Superman is because it's like Lemony Snickets. It's a series of unfortunate events that don't make no damn sense.
Slam, DC. Damn.
Okay.
And only DC does that. Marvel always, we've talked about it multiple times with their movies. They're tied together movies because like Doctor Strange is not technically a tied together movie. Captain America itself is an individual movie. Batman is an individual movie. Superman is an individual movie. They didn't tie those together good at all in those particular universes. And then when they made the Justice League as a tie-in, it almost felt like a group of 6th graders trying to get a soccer team together where no one wants to have the sucky people on their team, so they try to put them to the side. So when you finally have to pick them, you just rush them in. I want Superman. I want Batman. And then you realize that you picked the stupidest people for your team. And that's how the story was to me.
I disagree with that.
But see,
I
I think it does illustrate that Marvel approaches it that any character in the entire Marvel universe
It's
is
important.
ripe for their own project, so they don't disregard any option. But DC, like, they frantically focus on one thing and leave the others out, and then they
they're
swing
really
back
1
and
to 2
forth.
to 3 characters, right?
Yeah, and they don't like what. In what world is Wonder Woman a throwaway? Like, she is
Real.
rife for development. You can
She
do
is
anything
the
with her.
ultimate female character in the universe.
Yeah, so they're kind of DC's they're kind of shitting on their fans, and they're kind of shitting on potential new fans by not holding that story out wide to pick up as much potential as
Not
it
holding
could
that space
for Wonder
because
Woman.
Even in Wonder Woman, like that was one of my other things I said in the review that I didn't like. With Wonder Woman, in no capacity is ever a secondary character. When it
Right.
comes to the women in that universe, I'm not even talking about the men. The women, she is an A character. She
Mhm.
has a developed as hell backstory.
Mm-hmm.
She has a developed
She got hella powers.
personality, power concept, and to have her in originally as this sexy distraction,
It really undersells. Yeah.
undersells who she was. And then when they finally had her in the fighting scene, I give her the credit again, the graphics,
Mhm.
that her fighting style was great. It was great for who she was, but the story, how they implemented her, was retarded.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
I
like
think they did a good casting though of her though.
Yeah, I agree with that because they didn't go to a typical blonde, what they normally do. They came with a.
She's
a
supposed to
female
be
behind.
brunette, old
Yeah.
school. She's supposed to be brunette, but yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
And then they got Islander female, which was
Nice.
Emma Scare's an island, so you got to go with the concept of the island. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Even
Yeah.
better,
They
even better.
They even tied her back to the old school. She's been around forever because her original. Okay, I love the concept of Wonder Woman, but I don't believe they gave her enough story if this was supposed to be the introduction.
Yeah, either put her in thoughtfully or freaking leave it for
Just
another
leave it for a
project.
stand-
Leave it out. And so, like with me, I felt like they would have done a better job if they would have did Wonder Woman the same way they did Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman. They gave them a small little part. This is other major.
I think that was horrible.
No. The only reason I said that because they felt that they didn't want to go directly in depth. Which, of course, I said in the interview, it wasn't good. But for their concept, if that was what they were going to do, introduce more people, I believe it would have been better to do that with Wonder Woman because how they did introduce Wonder Woman, you took so much away from who she really was, her power, her potential, her uniqueness, her not relying on men. Like you took that away from her. I'd rather you just said, "Hey, this is a picture of her." When they had the old school and then
No, what I'm
took
saying
the movie.
is, I don't think they should have did either of those.
Oh.
I think they should have did again. This is beating a dead horse. Is the Marvel way? Is think about how they introduced in Iron Man. Think about how they introduced War Machine.
Mhm.
Beautiful
War Machine
introduction.
was already, or the I can't think of the War Machine's real name.
Don
but-
Cheadle.
No, not the actor, but
Oh, sorry.
the actual
character, yeah.
the actual
No, I
character's
can't think
name.
of him either.
Because in the first one it was Terrence Howard.
It
Oh,
was.
that's
It
true.
was. It was
That's
Terrence Howard, the
true.
first one.
You're
But
right.
That
You're
character
right.
was already introduced before he was even. He was
the
in
universe.
he was in that world, and then we found out that he became War Machine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
They
saying?
do that a lot in Marvel, yeah.
Exactly. So like how they introduced the people into the world without
Mhm.
because they could have did that, and he was a pivotal role in that movie, even though he didn't have a lot of scenes
Mhm.
or many scenes, you know what I'm saying? But he had enough scenes where you knew who he was, you knew who his relationship to Tony was. So it was only natural that if Tony needed help, who's he gonna rely on? Who's he gonna pick?
Best friend.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
there's ways that you can introduce characters.
But Marvel as a whole always has a great way of introduction. They don't rush people. I mean, if we think of Civil War, even if we go before Civil War and we go to
This conversation's happening whether you like it
No.
or not, see, right?
X-Men Apocalypse.
Hold on.
We got one more.
Okay.
One thing. About the same concept. I'm not going into the movie.
Sorry.
They already had characters, kind of what you were saying when we talk about Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch was already introduced before Civil War. Ant-Man was already introduced before Civil War. All of the major characters besides almost one were introduced before Civil War.
Because Marvel knows about teasing. They know how to do a tease.
They know how to give you like, hey, this dude will have a potential major role, but you just don't know it yet.
Because,
they make
like
sure
I said, they're
every
always talking to their fans on one level.
Yeah, they make sure every single movie there's not a movie that doesn't stand alone in the universe. DC
Mhm.
has the
Same
issue
thing.
where this movie has nothing to do with the universe, and then they try to later incorporate it, which we see as a fallacy. This year alone, if we just take 2016 with Batman vs Superman or any of the other DC movies,
There
they
was
did-
no DC movies besides Batman vs Superman.
And,
No.
and
Suicide
Suicide Squad.
Nah, I don't got that.
Is
Yeah,
DC, though. Is
even-
DC,
even
just to
though
be
it is
fair.
DC.
They
It
didn't
is
introduce
DC.
anybody new in a great way. They rushed it. They didn't give flushed out background. You didn't really know who they was. If we go back to Suicide Squad, nobody knew who the crocodile was. You just see this weird looking crocodile dude, but he has a major role in the DC universe. You don't really know who Deadshot was, but Deadshot is a major role. They didn't even introduce who really Harley Quinn was. They just gave a small connection because
I disagree with that. They introduced Harley Quinn the best out of all those characters.
yes, no, 100%. I agree with that. But compared to who the major concept of who Harley Quinn is in the evil world, she has so much of a major. In
What major role she's an accessory to Joker.
She's not.
She
No.
is until after.
Oh, it depends on who's telling the story.
I have to
Or
disagree with
/
you.
when you're looking
I
at the
really
story.
do. I'm sorry because Harley Quinn, she's one of the first evil female characters before this TV show, before this movie, had her own individual comic.
Yeah,
No other female had that before her.
but okay, but
Mm.
how did she get on that path?
Of course, Joker.
That's my point. Is so she's an accessory character that develops into just like Robin. And you can't.
Okay,
a Robin,
Okay, that's fine.
Or Robin
But
is
they
an
didn't
accessory character
they
that
didn't even-
becomes the main character when
But
he
they
becomes
didn't even
Nightwing
flesh
or
out
when he
really good that
branches on his
particular
own.
Joker. Everybody knew that wasn't the same Joker. You introduced a whole different look. Even he had the tattoos of who a Red Hood, Robin, all them would be, but you didn't give him a good storyline to introduce a good Harley. They had so much potential, really, within that same time frame where they could have cut a lot of bull crap out and make each one of those main characters fleshed out like they do.
Because there's not a good puppet master over at DC the way there is at
no,
Marvel, watching the whole thing, the whole big picture.
This is what I say.
No Stan Lee.
This is
No
what I'll
Stan Lee over
say
there.
in regard to that.
Yes, no Stan
This is
Lee.
what I'll say in regard to that. I hear what you're saying. I agree, but I disagree. I agree.
That beautiful feeling.
I agree in the manner that yes, they could have did a better job, but
Always.
that would have called for planning, like we said,
Ahead.
from Marvel ahead. At this point, let's say starting from this year, because that's where they were,
Mm-hmm.
and they at that point they already stated we're introducing these characters. They said
Do your X-Men thing. Do your
They said that they're going to introduce these characters.
Yeah.
At that point, I think they did a decent job of introducing those characters and highlighted Harley Quinn the best that they could in that story. The story wasn't. It's not about. The story wasn't ever supposed to be about Joker because he's supposed to be getting his own standalone.
Not though. They just
Yeah,
canceled
but
that on
but
live.
I'm going off of what they. This is how they were going into the planning.
True.
He's supposed to get his own standalone, so we're only going to throw enough of him in here so that you understand they have some sort of relationship. We'll get into more detail of what that relationship is in another movie. That's a bad
Hopefully.
take.
Hopefully.
That's
It's
a
just-
bad idea of what they shouldn't have
It
did it that
doesn't
way.
settle though. Like you can tell they're making it up as they go
And
along,
that's-
which is
but
awkward.
that's
Yeah,
Unlike
not-
Marvel, where you know they're
Marvel-
planning the
but
shit out of
they have
it.
But at
years
this
to
point,
plan.
what do you do if you're them? At
You
this
start
point,
today. If I was if I
Yeah,
was
exactly.
DC
Start treating it
director,
like the
if I
property
was
that it
DC
is.
Director, the author, whatever, the person that's supposed to tie the universe, I would do a Stan Lee. I would sit right here and see what each movie that DC has put out and what stuff that's been said because each of them had some kind of Easter egg for other movies. Because every
Yeah, and I'd
movie
be
does that.
commissioning.
So I would do that and I would tie it all together in my next movie because I would actually do a Justice League movie. We would tie in every movie because they've at least tried
they
to.
already are doing a Justice League movie.
Yes, but if we know,
But you
they
know
can
it's
track
all
the
weird and
DC,
awkward.
it's not-
But
it's
that's
weird.
my point is because this is my point about this. They're fucked. That's it. They're fucked at this point. They're fucked. They screwed it up. They're done because they already have.
But you can always
They
recover.
forgot to do it right.
But you
So
can
now
always
they're
recover.
doing it wrong.
Yeah, they did it wrong from the beginning. They're continuing to do it wrong, and at this point, they're what they need to do. This is my solution
the
for
whole
them.
thing?
No, just stop telling the public when you're next because right now, as a public, we know what's coming out until 2020.
Yes, go
2025.
dark.
2025.
Go
now, because
dark.
They released some movies coming out in 2024 that I want to talk about.
Okay, but that's my point is that they got
That's
all
a
these
long
movies
ass way in
lined
the
up
future.
that they're going to that they've told the people
And they
told them-
obviously don't have scripts, and it's a huge goddamn problem.
That's my point is
Yes, I'm with you 100%.
Get off the grid, stay quiet.
Get off the grid. What a great way to express that.
Figure out what you're gonna figure out.
You know
figure
damn
out
well
your
they're not going to
10-year
do that with
plan.
Marvel being a beast.
I know, but that's the only
See, that's the
only
thing. They
solution that I
allowed
can think
themselves
of.
to be spooked by Marvel, and it's too bad because DC heroes are just as compelling as Marvel
And they are. And
heroes.
let's be honest,
But
like,
they don't have to make their dollar today to match Marvel's dollar. They
and
can
to me,
wait and get
unfortunately,
their dollar
Batman and Superman
together.
are one of the
But they have
biggest
instant gratification
superheroes
problems.
in not even DC or Marvel, but in the universe.
Yeah.
Everybody knows freaking.
Which
Batman.
means
Everybody knows Superman.
which means everyone will come to that movie when they release it. They could have waited until they had their shit together a
If
little
you're
better.
Fan, you're gonna come because you love Batman and Superman. If you've heard about Batman and Superman, you're gonna come because you.
Because
love
it sounds
the universe.
epic.
It
And
sounds
also, by the way, make a good trailer. Because that trailer was garbage. I didn't go because the trailer sucked.
But the Jack the part of the trailer showed every good part of the movie. It was really
Yes.
well trailer.
And that is not a good trailer.
like
to
I was
me.
telling D-Ray, the thing that really killed me about the Batman vs Superman was all the great scenes by Batman.
Mhm.
All the great scenes by Batman literally were almost CGI.
And
Not
I
even
don't like that
literally,
either.
Not even literally, almost. They were CGI.
Yeah.
All the jumping around, the fighting was CGI. All the Batman was always supposed to be
Anti shout out to the old Spider-Man franchise, which has the same problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
all
The
the
Tobey Maguire
real
one.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck scenes. Batman wasn't suave. Batman wasn't a ladies' man. Batman wasn't
Ben
a party guy.
Affleck's so miscast.
That Batman seemed
No.
he seemed jaded.
He's
He
getting
seemed
his own
hurt.
movie.
He seemed like he's already been in Batman for so long that he shouldn't be Batman.
He wasn't old. Like, yeah, it was just wrong.
Yeah.
And I enjoy Ben Affleck other times, but this, no.
Yeah, in the town, he was amazing.
Yeah, and
Sounds
the
like
town
a great
was
The
movie.
town is so good.
To
That's
me,
a good movie.
he would have been a good Batman if they were trying to transition Batman to Robin or Batman
Yes,
Beyond.
Ben Affleck is totally Robin. Like, I just feel like they didn't ask
I'll
anybody.
even give him Batman, but I'll give him old Batman. I'll give him Batman wanting to retire. Do you remember
Busted ass, cranky ass Batman.
Yeah, you remember when Batman did the whole Batman Beyond concept and had the new future Batman? Like, if Ben Affleck played that with the same kind of tenacity he did not, I could see him. He was jaded. He was crappy. He wasn't into women. He wasn't really a philanthropist. He wasn't out there partying. He was
He was
old grumpy.
post peak.
He was post peak. He was a great, I'm ready to retire Batman. But prime, the beginning of the Justice League, the beginning of seeing
When
meta-humans,
he's at his height, yeah. No, I
He
hear what you're
was
saying.
not that
There's a
good.
conflict. There's
Yeah.
a conflict with it. Yeah.
All right, let's stop bashing Batman versus Superman.
X-Men.
X-Men Apocalypse.
I'll leave it to
and
y'all.
then
I'll join you in a second.
and then we'll have Civil War, what you all been waiting for. Even though we already have a podcast on Civil War, you should check it out. It was very good.
best
was.
movie of the year.
I listened to it, guys. It was cool.
Thank you.
Best movie of the year.
So X-Men Apocalypse. I was higher on X-Men Apocalypse than Reddy was when we first did the podcast. I don't know where he stands on it now, but my opinion has changed. My opinion
Like
on
these new
it,
opinions coming through.
my opinion on it has gone down. Unfortunately,
Down, okay. And that's kind of interesting because I don't remember exactly what I said on the last podcast, but all in all, my opinion's gone up a little bit after buying the movie and checking out some of the deleted scenes.
and mine, and my opinion did change. It did
Why?
get. I'll say it's.
What part brought you down?
What parts brought me down is a running theme with me tonight. I guess is the villain.
You didn't like Apocalypse?
I liked. Yeah, that's the main villain. He is in essence the very first mutant, the father of all mutants.
And they kept that. That's one reason.
No,
why I give it a little bit longer, a little higher.
I liked that. I still liked the introduction of the character. I liked the original Four Horsemen and how they showed his entombment in essence and his comeback. The problem that I had with it was the end. And is what I brought up about basically with Guardians of the Galaxy as Apocalypse as being as strong and as the first, basically the father of mutants.
To kill them all.
I'm not saying that it does make sense that the Phoenix could kill him, but I just don't think that's the route that they should have went. I think they should have went the route or even keep it the route that they did, but instead of having him die because he can control matter. That he just reforms himself he reforms himself, or maybe they'll bring it in the next movie. I don't know, but that would possibly change my.
It has to be Apocalypse.
That would possibly change my opinion about it because. But even if they do that, I still would think they should have put a teaser in for that. Maybe at the very end. Atoms and matter coming together, but never forming an actual thing. Just the matter coming together, which can give you the indication you can speculate that he's coming back. Because I do like that, as well as the other thing that was a little I won't say disheartening was Magneto. Magneto's
Change of heart.
not change of heart, his hesitance in standing alone and being his own man.
How you mean? I'm a little bit
That towards the end when Apocalypse was basically manipulating him to create the magnetic field to destroy the world and create to change the matter, is in that world Magneto's never been the type to serve anybody.
Be a bandwagoner, right?
So I can understand him taking help to achieve the goal he wants, but he always takes help from people that he knows at the end of the day, if things go bad, I'll be able to take care of myself, and they can't really fuck with me.
So
that kind of changed my perspective, because that's what I loved about the X-Men movies prior to this, is how they always really maintain the relationship of Professor X and Magneto, regardless of whatever else is going on in the movies. Those two relationships and the core of those characters are always held on too strong.
And I have to agree with that, which I said was one of my biggest flaws when they chose the Four Horsemen, because I always felt if you're going to change the Four Horsemen, I would give you three things. One, you should have changed the weakest character of all the Four Horsemen, which was
Archangel.
And I'm gonna be real, even as Archangel, he's not that powerful. Two, if you're gonna change who the characters are, why are you gonna use Storm and Magneto, which have never been Four Horsemen if you go by the comic books, as well as Storm?
I thought Magneto was.
Magneto was never a Four Horseman.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was Pain, Pestilence, and all them. He was never one. And if you are gonna use Magneto, Magneto and Storm, at least change a little bit of their powers, because who Apocalypse was when he made you a Four Horseman, he changed you down to the genetic level. He changed your DNA itself, which is why Angel went from an actual angel-esque looking thing to a blue, evil, metal wing thing. If you really gonna make them be...
Well, in the movie, they didn't make him blue. They just had him change his wings.
They did make him blue. They painted him blue later. You remember at the end, he was a little bit blue?
He just had a blue uniform, bro.
Okay, a blue uniform, which would still maintain his concept of character being blue. But you changed his wings. You changed him again at a subatomic level. But
that's what I'm saying, though. They didn't capture that in the movie.
But I would say with the metal wings, that's kind of changing it a pretty.
No, how metal wings is not changing your cellular level.
You went from angel S wings to metal wings that can regenerate as well as shoot.
No, they didn't show that it regenerated. All they showed was metal covering those wings.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, even with that.
So that's what I'm saying. It's basically, it could be the same idea of with the Winter Soldier. His arm is silver. Yeah, but he lost his arm, but he's still not changed subatomic level. Is my point. It's a cellular level.
Beginning, they didn't show enough of who Apocalypse was as the first mutant, the God mutant, the ultimate mutant, of his control. The only time I truly say they showed his true control is with Charles. Every time Charles was introduced using his powers, they showed that Apocalypse had a whole nother level that Charles could never mess with. Mm-hmm. From when he first used Cerebro to try to find Eric. Yeah. They showed that Apocalypse had him. He made him shoot all the missiles. Then when he kidnapped him and made him send a message because he was a tuner, they showed the greatest concept of a tuner. I just wish they expanded on that, because if you're a real tuner, you change everything around you. If you look at even regular life, a tuner enhances, creates, and changes what it tunes. But he only enhances a little bit your original power. When we think about Angel, he gave him metal wings. When you think about he made her shoot electricity when she wasn't able to do that before.
My explanation for that would be he changed them only to the degree that he wanted them to, because he didn't want them to get too powerful. It's basically keeping people in positions of power because you don't want them to get too strong to oversee.
That's a fallacy.
Overthrow you.
Apocalypse, when he changed you and he changed you down to a subatomic level, he changed your mind. If we look at the comics or the cartoons, if we look at the 1990 cartoons, when he made Angel, when he made his Apocalypse, he had mind control of you, because that was part of his power. If he changed you,
I thought that was I didn't think that was his power. I thought that was Apocalypse's power, and then no, that Apocalypse had his power, and then that was the vampire dude.
No. Okay, so
that was the one that controlled Miles. I swear, bro. I'm pretty sure.
You're talking about not Sentinel. What's his name with the red diamond?
Yeah, that guy.
No, he did a whole different thing. When Apocalypse controlled your mind, it wasn't his direct power, it was his technology. He basically brainwashed you to be the ultimate shoulder that he can always control. Yes, he did. The Apocalypse, the reason if we even look in the movie itself,
I'm going based off the movie.
Okay, based off the movie. So they showed it, because Apocalypse's technology was ancient Egyptian technology. If we looked in the beginning when he was transferring his consciousness.
No, they said that, bruh. You gotta rewatch it.
And this one, they said it was his power.
Bruh, you gotta rewatch it, bruh. In the beginning, no, they said he unlocked It's not his technology. All he did was unlock the power to regenerate himself for future. That's it.
And I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I'm saying compared to that to who Apocalypse originally was, Apocalypse to become the metal, the creation he was in the comic books and every cartoon before was ancient technology that was given from an alien race. We later found out in the comic books it was the Shira race. In this movie, they kind of alluded to it by showing it, but it was more on the concept that he figured out how to use the technology and conquer it. But with that, even if they wanted they gave the Easter egg, quote unquote, to those concepts, but they didn't go into a higher level of it. But like I said, me and Alana, if you would go to the fans of who Apocalypse was, if you ever look, Apocalypse, he became powerful through his own mutant ability and his technology, correct?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you okay? No worries. But that's how he became powerful. In the movie, they showed that, but they didn't elaborate on it. And I feel like if Deadpool does do what they said was Cable, because Cable used that same kind of technology, if they do that, then it would show the real reason why Apocalypse became so powerful. But I didn't. And I'll give you that. If you just go by the movie, it was all Apocalypse. But even if it was all Apocalypse, if you have the ability to change people's powers to that level and enhance them and all that crap, you have to have some level of control. And you would never give somebody, I would never give you the power to do something you never had before unless I know I can control you. And they kind of alluded to that, but they didn't give him the complete control he used to have in the comic book. That's the reason why I had
you can't cheat in your script. You can't. Yeah, like even without seeing it, listening to your conversation right now, like those cheats, they don't serve the fans and they don't serve it as a standalone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I disagree, but I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay.
Because I think they did explain that, but
not in the best way.
That's debatable.
To suffice the fans. If you don't know the history of Apocalypse, yes, it gave a great concept of who he was. But if you read the comic, if you watch the old cartoon from back in the day that most of us 80s babies,
that's what I'm saying. From what I remember from the cartoon, bro, Apocalypse controlled Sinister. Sinister
is a whole different dude by himself. Sinister's whole goal was one thing, to make the Ultimate Mutant by combining Scott Summers and the Phoenix to make
but
the Ultimate
from
Human,
what I remember,
which was Cable.
From what I remember, Apocalypse controlled Sinister. Sinister did his bidding until the point where Sinister decided he didn't need Apocalypse to create his own race. He needed Scott and Jean.
Yes, but that was in the first 5 episodes.
Not from what I remember. What I remember is it was a long time before he decided, because
they revealed it later on in episode 23. But
I don't know.
It was episode 5 that they showed.
Somebody fact check that and then leave us a comment, because I don't believe that.
No, please do. I would love it.
You need more people.
But no. I want. If you look at the comic books again, they show that Apocalypse always had technology from an ancient race.
I'm not disagreeing with that point.
Okay, but the Sinister concept.
Yes,
they
I
talk
believe
about Sinister in that movie, though. You know that, right?
Yes, I know.
Okay,
but like I said, from what I remember, Apocalypse controlled Sinister. Sinister did his bidding, and Sinister is the one that actually had the mind control. From my understanding is, and like they did in the movie, is Apocalypse did have control. He manipulated people. He made the 4 Horsemen believe that they needed him, so that's why they protected him as viciously as they did at the end, to their sacrificing their death. And then Sinister is the one that controlled the rest of them. By actually manipulating their minds.
By the old cartoon, I want you to think of something quick. Do you remember back in the day when they made Archangel to Archangel? Mm-hmm. There was an episode where Archangel was fighting the X-Men, the whole Rogue and all them, etc., etc., fiercely trying to defend freaking Apocalypse until Rogue took off her gloves, grabbed Archangel by the face, and then as she grabbed Archangel, she took some of like she does power as well as concept. She turned blue, and then when she came out of it. First, Archangel was no longer willing to protect Apocalypse because some of the mind controls went off, as well as she was able to see all the stuff that Apocalypse did to completely control Angel.
I remember that part. I don't remember them showing Apocalypse doing. What I remember, again, is Sinister is Apocalypse going to Sinister and saying, basically, I need you to get him back. That's how I remember it. But With that
Let's
being
move on.
said, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I'm misremembering, or you misremembering. Somebody here is misremembering.
We'll talk
Maybe it's
about it later
both.
podcast.
But anyways,
This ain't the last time.
now we finally gonna get to Civil War.
Woo!
Civil War, and that's a wrap because we've been talking for a minute, guys. So I know we don't want to keep you too long.
So I love
Civil
D-Red right
War.
now because D-Red has Civil War on in the background while we're having this podcast.
It's just so good.
It's literally the best. Me and D-Ray talk about my ranking of movies, and Civil War right now is probably number one. It really is probably number one.
It was
And-
it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
Beautifully done.
Great introduction of new characters. Without doubt, you had Spider-Man. You had
Look
you
at
had,
him right here. He's on the screen
you
right
had
now.
Freaking, Black Panther. They fleshed out the backstory, why each one of them were involved, how they came involved, their power, their ability. Spider-Man was the only Spider-Man I loved. He was the asshole. I could beat you anytime. You know, I'm really excited because I'm a newbie. He was Spider-Man, like
Talking a huge game.
talking a huge game and still backing it up because Tobey Maguire couldn't really do it. The person that got to replace Tobey Maguire
And
was
Andrew
Andrew
Garcia.
Garfield, or
Garfield. Yeah,
Andrew
Andrew
Gar-
Garfield.
He was
Sorry.
okay. He was closer to Spider-Man, but this dude,
He's perfect.
he's perfect
He's
Spider-Man.
perfect.
He looks like a straight up nerd, but he also looks like he could probably whoop your ass. He acts like I don't know what I'm doing, but you know I can really do it. He has the jokes, the wittiness. He has the everything he portrayed was Spider-Man. And Black Panther came out on ungodly vibranium beauty.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Who's the actor? He's amazing.
Oh my gosh, it is slipping my
Black
mind.
Panther, yeah.
But I don't have much more to say than what I stated on.
Did you guys talked about this
And-
before, right?
Yeah, so I don't have much more to say about it regarding.
Chadwick Boseman.
There
Yeah.
he is. Thank you.
So
He's beautiful.
I thought the movie was very well done. The introduction of characters, it fit into the universe.
How would you rank it to the other movies in the? Let's just say Marvel. I won't even say DC. Marvel Universe. If you had to rank it between 1 and 10, I don't even want to know the other numbers. Just what would you name it? Rank it.
It would. My instinct, because I'm looking at it right now, is saying it should be 1, but
Realistically,
there's a part of me that's giving it a tie 2/2 because I really enjoyed. No, I really enjoyed that. I can go back to that. But I don't think it was done as well. But X-Men First Class,
Mm.
What about you?
I really liked that movie. I felt that they captured the relationship between Magneto and Professor X. I think the best that I've ever seen on screen.
For me it's a 1 or a 2. Because my possible number 1 that would put Civil War number 2 is I have a huge respect and enduring love for the first Captain America movie, because the original transition of Steve Rogers is just it's everything. That segment with Tommy Lee Jones at the army base and like just like what is it? What is someone who doesn't have power understands what power is. Like that part of it has always stuck with me. I think it's beautifully rendered. The CGI they do to turn Steve Rogers into Captain America, or rather what they did to Chris Evans to make him
to downplay,
to sell
yeah.
both of it
Yeah.
was just an amazing combination of CGI and practical effects, and it just kills me. So it's either 1 or 2.
But the reason why I have to give it 1 is because literally everything you just said. Because
Mhm.
if we think of just this movie alone,
Mm-hmm.
they had the greatest combination of actors.
Yes,
had
it's
a-
just outstanding.
They had a great storyline.
Yes.
They had great character development,
Mhm.
which is always a big problem when it comes to more Marvel and DC movies or superhero movies.
Especially
And
with
good
the
dialogue.
especially with the number of actors and characters that they had in this. Think about how well they divided the screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody got
Amongst all
ultimate
those people.
impact.
It's right on the edge of too complicated. They
Mhm.
just hit it at the right spot with everything they were trying to
And they
accomplish.
they can kind of get you in the heart because I don't know about y'all, but when they really went into the real concept of Captain America
Yeah.
versus Iron Man, with both people, I have to say, have the best intentions at heart, 100%.
It's beautifully emotional.
It really
Whose
is.
side are we on? You literally have to choose.
Mhm.
Like that was actually part of the marketing. Is are you Team
you
Cap or
Captain America?
Team Iron Man? Yeah,
Yeah.
and you could. It's literally equally valid on either side.
Yeah,
and
there is no right answer.
we don't see conflicts fleshed out like that in movies, especially not a popcorn movie,
And-
which is essentially what was Marvel's
Yeah, what's-
sweet spot.
Yeah, and then
Like, they
bringing
went
Hawkeye
deep.
back, I love too. I have
Yeah.
to say that too, because he quit in the last movie, and then
Yeah.
they have him coming back as like, bro, I really didn't want to come back, but because y'all have this issue, I'm coming back. Like, I'm coming back just for y'all.
Plus, Civil War is beautifully situated in our own world. Like this scene that they have at the UN, and the way that the idea that you would write a complicated contract for your soups. Like if soups really did exist, like they'd have some bizarre
Governmental
working
contract.
orders. Exactly. Like
Sokovia
the way they break down the conflict, discuss both sides. We've got Iron Man, known capitalist, like heart. There's examples of these schools of thought in our
Democratic
actual
Republic
world,
And Tea Party,
and that
all
just
in one party,
adds
right?
so much weight to the story. So like,
Yeah.
is it a cute story that we can eat popcorn to? Like,
No.
absolutely, but it also works on many deeper levels of art, and for that it has my ultimate respect. It's a wonderful piece.
And one
really
of the
into it.
levels that I really do love is really going into Wakanda.
Yes.
You had a
How about
great
an African
respect-
nation that's crushing it for a change?
Yeah, I mean, we always when we see African nations, unfortunately, even though we know it's not really significantly true, we always see them impoverished, sad, awful, death, fat babies with flies around them. But when we talk about Wakanda, it showed the richest nation, not in Africa, not in that part of the world, but the world.
yeah.
The richest nation
Yeah.
in the world with the most expensive thing the most expensive thing you can ever imagine. And his
Yes.
whole suit is made of it. Which is why I love the concept where they're like, yo, you think you have an arm or you have a shield made of this, but I have a whole entire suit made of that and more. Like, it's
And there's so much, even though we only see him for a brief time, the Black Panther's father, who was a statesman,
Mhm.
there's so much
It's
like,
endearing. It's an
they-
endearing scene
they
show.
managed to motivate Black Panther with that short thing, and it's so hard to do, but the acting was beautiful, the writing was beautiful. Like they used it just enough that we 100% understand all like Panther's
why he would
motivations
want to be a
now.
part of it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that scene at the the embassy, I believe.
Yes.
With-
Blue Father?
Yeah, when Black Panther's talking to Black Widow, and then the father approaches, and
Mhm.
that scene is maybe 2 minutes, maybe
Right.
maybe 2 minutes
Yeah.
of screen time. But like you said, there's so much developed in that scene. There's one of Black Panther and Black Widow, their interaction, and where you can see the confidence that he has and the at ease that he is with somebody that the world knows is an assassin. There's not many people that are gonna feel comfortable talking to an assassin.
Like, it ain't nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's nothing.
Like
and
she's
so
not
so that
nothing.
shows that he has some level of confidence and he understands his value.
And yeah,
And-
and so then the reveal that
And-
gentleman is in fact
And so that
Panther.
it
Yeah, makes
explains
sense.
explains why he's so comfortable in those situations when he's talking to her. And then that scene right after that with his father is so endearing. The soft touch that he has with the son at that moment is like, oh,
gorgeous.
that, as well as the line that he says about a person that doesn't necessarily want to be in power,
But it has to be.
but has to be and is
Duty. Duty.
and so
Duty
and
over
so
what you want.
and does it so well.
Yeah,
but has
carries
that
it
hesitance.
gracefully. Yeah,
And
Yep.
like I said, like we've been saying, that embodies the idea that I had of Black Panther prior to the movie, just in the comics alone, and then to see that transitioned and portrayed on film so well done
yes.
was exciting. And like we said, in such a short scene, which to me shows and highlights how well and thought out they are thinking about these
Yes.
projects.
But
not
scripting
just
and acting.
exactly, not just on the basis of how it's gonna sell, but how it's gonna hit you, like we've been talking about, emotionally as well as rationally. Like, does
And
this
then
make sense?
The thing that also, they had a lot of iconic scenes that were from the comics and movies, and one of them is Black Panther scratching Iron Man's shield with those claws, as well as the Iron Man, the Captain America, where Iron Man's using his pulsar ray and Captain America's blocking it. Those are iconic scenes from everything. They were on the covers of comic books. Like, if they didn't do it, that's why I love Marvel so much, because they always give their fans what they want to see. Like, you always think, like, it's not going to be in the movie. You're not going to see that concept. But Marvel makes sure they show that if you...
Two levels, always.
Always.
The people who don't know, like me, and the people who do know, like you, and we're both loving it.
And it shows you, it's like, oh, yeah, that's a cool scene. And then you have the fans like, yo, that had to be here. And Marvel always makes sure they live up to their fans' ideals. There's almost very little Marvel movies that I can honestly say that weren't A or B quality. Where
Green Lantern.
You knew they had to be good movies.
So, I want to wrap this up. Since we now ending with Civil War, say your piece about Civil War, and then you can say your piece about Civil War, and then there's one more thing I want to do before we
totally
continue.
You got it.
Really wrap this up. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make this quick. I will say, as of 2016, if we're looking at the bar or the level of what superhero movies should be, I'm not even saying DC or Marvel, but just any kind of superhero movies, especially if it's a collaboration of heroes, Civil War is what the epitome should be. If we're talking about
That's the
the
gold
highest
standard.
level of any movie that should have a series of group of heroes trying to accomplish a goal in any capacity, your thought process should be Civil War. Of how to integrate them, how to show the graphic, the fight, the turbulence, the pain, the love, the hate, the conflict. Civil War hit all those, where it made sure that fans as well as newcomers had everything they needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
A similar comment to Reddy. Like, it's just so I'm not like a comic book nerd, but I've come to be a huge Marvel fan, and it's because they write it. The conflicts hold water. They're conflicts with which you can have empathy. There's a lot of detail, and then they cast actors that will really sell the story. And they take such care with the scripts, and that's what I just want to say in general to Hollywood. Like, you can have a budget as expensive as you want. You can have effects that I've never seen before. You can take it to the CGI houses. You can make it look however you want. If you don't have a script, you don't have a project that I want to see. And that's why Marvel keeps killing it for me. They take so much care with the scripts, both with having solid stories, solid narratives, having good, believable, engaging dialogue, and having actors who can sell it to me. So, like, if they're gonna make them like Civil War, I will keep paying.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And I have nothing else to add to that. I agree with that 100%. I think it was well written, well done, well acted. They edited it perfectly in the regards of, like I stated before, these are a lot of actors. A lot of actors that are considered equal in their weight.
It's like 15 characters. Like, it's a lot.
That's a lot of characters and not a lot of screen time. Let me rephrase that. Not a lot of screen time with a lot of action scenes. And for them to capture not just the action scenes, but the intricate parts between the acting scenes. And I just want to bring up this scene because we are about to we watched it just a few minutes ago.
The famous airport scene.
The
from
airport
Captain
scene.
America: Civil War.
Exactly. The thing that highlights the small intricate details is that one scene with Hawkeye and Black Widow, where it's supposed to be an intense scene, but there's still room for levity with Black Widow and Hawkeye saying, "Are you going hard?" You know, in essence, like, don't really. Don't
kill nobody.
Yeah, like, we're trying to. We understand. Yeah, we understand why we're here, and we understand that we're having some issues.
We're literally working something out right now.
Exactly, we're a family, and we're working it out.
and that's, I'll say this as a final thing, and that's what I want DC to take from here when they
take a lesson. Take several.
When they finally make Justice League a full movie, because it was Batman or Superman, not Justice League. But when they make Justice League, they need to take a page out of this book where they can introduce Spider-Man being a beast and coming in and still holding his weight while not taking away from who he was or any of the other ones.
And not distracting from
Not
the whole thing.
Like DC has distracting characters, but could be great characters. I want them to use that Civil War mindset and make Justice League, and I think it would be a great movie.
Okay. So we've gone through all of the 26. Well, I won't say all of them, but pretty
Some
much
major
all of the
releases in there, yeah.
of the releases.
Best.
And it seems like a consensus that Civil War is hands down the favorite of 2016.
Without a doubt.
I'd say so.
Okay. Would you put Doctor Strange or Deadpool? Which would you put higher?
I'd have to give it to Deadpool. I have to give it to Deadpool for like enjoyment and like, do I want to watch it again? I want to watch Deadpool again more than I want to watch Doctor Strange again.
And
even though my boyfriend / husband Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, like I gotta respect what was done with Deadpool.
And I'd pick Doctor Strange myself.
Doctor
Oh, nice,
Deadpool?
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
I hear that.
Just because the story, I just like the concept of that is just more interesting to me than Deadpool. For me,
oh, and true, like the ancient one walking the line between ally and antagonists,
exactly,
versus how you had an issue with the
I have to give you the same for Deadpool because I like Deadpool more because of the comedy aspect of it.
Yeah,
But I know I can watch Deadpool and watch great action and laugh. When it comes to Doctor Strange, it's always great action, but it's not as comical.
that's true.
And but it's not.
There are jokes, but it's not the
Yeah,
same.
it's not supposed to be as comical as Deadpool. So that's the only reason Deadpool wins for me because Deadpool is, as he would say, super Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see that yeah. I would pick Doctor Strange on that one. Yeah, the rest of these for me it's actually my ranking is going to be really quick. I don't have to think about it. Civil War, Doctor Strange, Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse, Suicide Squad, Batman vs Superman, and I'm done.
Yeah.
It's after having this talk, it made it pretty easy for me to make my list.
Crystallized.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I agree. The only difference I have is a Deadpool versus a Doctor Strange. I have to put Deadpool at number 2 and Doctor Strange number 3, and then I give Suicide Squad, and then I give what was that crappy movie? Batman vs Superman.
See, I put X-Men over Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, where's X-Men land for you? Ready?
X-Men. Yeah, I did forget about.
Because I would go Civil War, Doctor Strange, Deadpool, X-Men, Suicide Squad.
Deadpool,
then
Doctor Strange, Suicide Squad / X-Men are kind of tied for me because I didn't enjoy both of them for very different reasons. And then I have to give Batman vs Superman as I don't even want to give it in my top 5. I want to give it in my top 100 and make it 100.
it wasn't that bad, bro.
Bro, it wasn't. It was worse than Green Lantern.
I was about to say I don't think it was worse than Green Lantern.
The only better it was the graphics, but that's a new year. But the storyline I think was just as crappy. I can't.
No,
Batman
Green
vs
Lantern,
Superman was
bro.
crappy as Green Lantern. So I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean Green Lantern was horrible to me.
Yes.
Batman versus Superman was bad, but it wasn't horrible. Like I can watch. I watched Green Lantern one time. I've watched Batman versus Superman twice.
Okay.
And I would still watch it again. I wouldn't probably put
100% more than once, y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, and I would be willing to watch it again. But if I just wouldn't pick it, like if somebody said you got these two choices, are you go no, I wouldn't pick it. But if it's on, I wouldn't be like, oh goddamn, turn this off. No. Now Green Lantern, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go read a book.
I'm actively on my phone with either of those movies.
A book I don't like.
On my phone.
I'm gonna read a book I don't like.
That is damning, Reddy. That is damning.
I'll watch Drawing Paint. So
what's that guy's name? The little shrubs and paintings.
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, y'all.
I watched that for both of the movies.
Hey, but that's
Bob
fun. I
Ross
like
is
that
good.
show. Would you put? Wait, did you see X-Men?
I didn't.
Okay,
I'm
You didn't
not
see
up
Suicide
on my
Squad?
From the movie
X-Men.
you've seen, what's your ranking?
Oh,
That's what we talked
it's the
about.
same as yours, my friend. Reddy. It is Captain America in the lead. I gotta give a slight edge to Deadpool for rewatchability, and then I gotta do Doctor Strange. And those are the 3 that I saw.
I love it.
All right. Well, that wraps up our 2016 comic book movie review.
Nice.
We appreciate you all listening. We will come back soon and do just a movie review of the movies that came out in 2016. Non-comic book. We'll just all the movies that came out in the year of 2016 and rank them necessarily, possibly, maybe
Chat them through.
We'll try to condense it a little bit though. But comics is a passion, so we tend to be a little bit more verbose, loquacious, all those SAT words.
Yes.
Anyways, but
Good stuff.
again, I do want to say thank you again for listening to another Stay Woke podcast. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank Reddy. I want to thank Miss Jane for coming in and rocking with us for another podcast. And if you haven't seen these movies we talked about, at least give them a shot. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think about them. What's your rankings? If you agree with me, if you agree with Reddy, and please fact check us. We love to be corrected on any facts that we got wrong, stated wrong. We want to learn. So let us know if we got something wrong.
Nice.
At least I like to know. Because I think I'm right about that X-Men. But we're going to leave it there.
I'll give you one. Not Drax, Ronan the Destroyer. I apologize in advance.
Because I was about to say, Drax is on the good
guy.
team.
He's part of the team. Like I said, my bad. I apologize.
He lost credibility. And
Ronan
fact
the
check
Destroyer. There you go. No, I fixed my own. I fixed my own mistake. Quick. Sorry.
And we're out.